Hello, everyone, tonight, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Ropes Media. And tonight we have a special guest, Danny Limelight Rivera. What's good, Danny? How you doing? How you feeling, man?
What's good, bro? What up? What up? What up? I'm good, mi gente. I'm chilling. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for having me on the show. I see y'all been doing some big things and stuff like that. So I'm hoping this is gonna be another fun interview, man. What's up with it?
Yeah, man. Ya tú sabes, man. Ya tú sabes. From one boricua to another.
Mi gente. Mi gente.
Yeah, man. So, man, I just want to get right into it. Tell us about your early life in New York. Tell us about your family, your life growing up. Who did you look up to as a kid growing up in New York?
And so I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I was born in '91, so I was growing up throughout the '90s. And you know, my father and his brothers used to do a lot of things in the streets. So I was raised in that kind of environment. A lot of people respected my pops, and so by association, you know, people showed me love because who my family was. And you know, it felt good growing up and being able to just like live the life that I wanted to live. You know, I wanted to be playing sports, or I wanted to be, you know, out chasing little chicken heads back in the day, taking the subways to school and stuff like that. And, you know, my pops was always my hero. He was like, you know, he was the OG in the neighborhood, and he was like the neighborhood pops, you know. So like me and my homies would always kick it at the crib on the stoops and shit like that. And when summertime came through, you know, he coached baseball for us and stuff like that. And it was always a fun time. You know, my family was big. You know, I come from a very humble Puerto Rican family. You know, and we did a lot. We did all the, you know, the big get-togethers for the holidays and stuff like that. I was always around my cousins and stuff, like my siblings, and you know, I was a grandma's boy, so I was always at my grandma's crib eating good. And that was my childhood up until the age of 17 when I joined the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps took me everywhere I wanted to be and more, and that dropped me into the world of professional wrestling.
Right. And I see on a lot of your media poster here and there, and even your shirts that you're selling, it says bodega. Now, did you create that in remembrance of, you know, being by the corner stores, being able to walk to the corner store? Maybe, you ever got a chopped cheese? You know, what's the bodega comes back?
I've never been a fan of chopped cheese. So for me, it was always bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches. You know, I was a bacon, egg, and cheese kind of roll guy. And, you know, I like the New York pizzas and the little Chinese restaurants and stuff like that. But the Bodega tag team name, you know, King Fat Boy Papo Esco, he's from the Bodega. He reps the Bodega. And we kind of came together and we joined this tag team on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And we were thinking of a name. And I liked it, you know, like he was built from the Bodega. And I remember the Bodega growing up. Like, that's why I used to go to, you know, to the stores before school, after school, in the middle of the day, just shooting the shit. You know, the old heads were playing dominoes and shit outside the Bodega. I would go in there and grab me, you know, a little drink, a handball, whatever have you, and stuff like that. And I thought it was a cool idea. He thought it was a cool idea to just be called the Bodega. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what we are. You know, you can get whatever you need from the Bodega, including a beatdown. You feel me? And so we were running with that tag team name, and that's who we are, and that's authentic. Like that's real talk. Growing up in New York City, like, you know, you had the dope boys in front of the Bodega, you had the old heads in front of the Bodega, you had the old heads inside the Bodega drinking beer and shit like that. You know, you got the food, you had those bodegas that had the little old ladies that used to cook the cuchifrito, you know, like the little Puerto Rican food and shit in the back. And so that's where I was raised at, man. You already had the cat on the bread, like all that stuff. And so we thought it would be cool to represent the Puerto Rican flag, and just really bring that to light on a stage, you know, with the driving platform that United Wrestling Network has provided us. And then I continue to carry that over when, you know, I'm wrestling in New Japan or with AEW and things like that.
Right. And coming from New York, tell us, how did coming from the melting pot of the country help boost or hinder your path to become a professional wrestler?
I'm a firm believer if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. I made it in New York. I made it in the Marine Corps. I made it so far more. I ain't make it yet, but I'm on the right path of professional wrestling. I think that, you know, just being able to have that background, that you know, when people think of New York, they think of confidence, they think of arrogance, they think of, you know, real, genuine, raw personality. And I think that helped me, you know, in the world of professional wrestling, just being able to represent that, being able to wear that on my sleeves, being able to really, you know, come out with the Puerto Rican bandana on my head and just showing love to mi gente and really just staying true to who I am, who my family raised me to be. For a while, I kind of stood away from it because I didn't want to fall into that stereotype. But I realized that, you know, the more authentic I stay true to who I am, the more real I keep it, the easier it is for me to be who I am. And that will translate onto the TV screen and people watching, you know, whether it be Latinos or New Yorkers or people from any kind of, you know, minority background, you know, they can relate to me and my upbringing and stuff like that, and see that if I'm grounded and I'm doing my thing, that they could do and chase whatever dream that they may have, no matter where they come from or the color of their skin or their race and stuff.
Right, right. And so tell us about your transition from, you know, you were living in New York and then you joined the military. And tell us about your wrestling path. Where did that begin and who kind of influenced that?
So growing up as a kid, I was always like a huge fan of The Rock. You know, I loved everything that he did on the microphone, in the ring. You know, he was the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. And he was like my favorite, you know. And then after him, it was Eddie Guerrero. Like, I really loved Eddie Guerrero and what he did for the Latino culture and stuff like that, bringing that Latino heat. I joined the Marine Corps, like I said, when I was 17. I lived in Japan. I traveled to all these countries, did my deployments, landed in California. And in 2014, I found professional wrestling. I never knew what independent wrestling was. All I knew growing up was WWE and WCW. So when I found out there was like independent shows and Ring of Honor was a thing and New Japan was a thing and Impact was a thing, when I found all this stuff, I was like, oh, this is like so much wrestling, you know? And so I started training in 2014. I took a break from it in 2016 because I went to go be a drone instructor in the Marine Corps, so I had no time. And then when I came back in 2018, I came back locked and loaded with an idea to really make this my career and to put more effort into it. And you know, when I got out the Marine Corps in 2019 of October, so last year, the shit just really started, you know, snowballing and picking up for me. And now here we are coming into the end of 2020, my best year ever. And I'm just super grateful and blessed. And I'm thankful that I've been able to have this kind of a year and I've been able to do it for this long and, you know, essentially just make a living off of it.
Right. Were those two professions constantly in your head when you were growing up, or did something just click later from, you know, being a veteran Marine to wrestling?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a wrestler and I wanted to be an actor. Those were my dreams, you know. And then when I told my teachers, they looked at me like I was stupid, you know, because I'm a Puerto Rican kid from New York trying to be a actor. Like, this is not Hollywood. That was their mentality. You know, you're not living in LA. You're not living in Hollywood. You can't just go be an actor. You're not 6'2", you know, 200 something pounds. You can't be a wrestler. So I started playing baseball. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to be Derek Jeter's replacement at shortstop for the Yankees. And when I got kicked out of my second high school, I went to go finish my senior year at a third high school. They already had their baseball team, so I couldn't play on their team. Mind you, I was playing varsity baseball as a freshman in all my other schools. And so I was good. I mean, I don't know if I'd have been good enough to be, you know, on the Yankees or make it to Major League, but I was good at play. And when I got kicked out, I couldn't play my senior year. There was my plans for baseball, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do now. Joined the Marine Corps, and that kind of set me up for success, and it was the best decision I ever made. You know, I did 10 years. I did a lot of things in the Marine Corps, and I'm super thankful to the military and the Marine Corps. And the transition from that to wrestling was easy. The training that I got in the Marines was unlike any other training in the world. And so it was an easy, smooth transition into wrestling. Obviously, there was still a lot I had to learn, but, you know, it wasn't as challenging as some may think.
Right. Now, speaking of your growing up and growing, you know, joining the military, what as a Puerto Rican living in New York or Northeast area, right? I noticed there's a lot of kind of creature of habits that, you know, it's almost like soul ties where Puerto Ricans are, or Dominicans, or, you know, whoever it is, they're stuck in their environment and they're constantly, you know, they go to school and then they go to the bodega, and then from the bodega they go and, you know, play dominoes or smoke or whatever, but they don't leave that area. They kind of stay in their niche. What would you say to someone, or how did you do it, and how could you motivate someone that they can get out of that? They can get away from that apartment living in the middle of the city selling drugs and doing, you know, constantly living that fast life, to tracing their dreams. How did you come out of that? And how would you be able to inspire somebody who's kind of struggling right now in that situation?
For me, what I noticed is that people from New York, they get stuck in the New York bubble, right? And then when they retire, in their mind is, oh, I got to retire to Florida now. You know, like that's always been, for me, what I noticed what New Yorkers do, especially the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans, the Cubans, the Blacks. It's stay in New York till you're 40-something years old and go to live in Florida, you know? When I joined the Marine Corps, I seen a whole different side of the world, you know, like a whole different view. I was living in another country. I was living in Japan for 2 years, you know, and I went to Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Australia. So I'm seeing and experiencing all these other cultures, all these other ways of living. I'm meeting people from parts of America that I never, like literally people that I never would have talked to because of how they looked, how they dressed. Back home, now they're my best friends. You know, I'm rocking with them. I'm training with them. You know, getting ready to fight the good fight together. I'm learning about the way they live, the way they carry themselves. And I told myself, I said, why do people in New York get stuck living in New York? Like, why do they trap themselves in that bubble? And there's nothing wrong, because I'll tell you right now, if I could do it all over again, I would not want to be raised anywhere else other than New York. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so happy that that's where I was raised and born at. But I would never go back to live there. Like, I would not go, oh, I'm going to go back to New York. I want, you know, I could have easily gone back after I got out of the military. So all right, I'm going to go back home because it's safe. That's the safe move. Go back to New York. My family's there. You know, they're going to have my back. But I put myself in a must-win situation. I put myself in a corner, and I put myself with the mentality that my plan B is another way to make my plan A work. If this is what I want to do, if I want to act and I want to wrestle, I got to be where the acting and the wrestling's at. And I got to force myself to grind. I got to force myself to do interviews like this. I got to force myself to travel, drive miles, audition, stay in good shape, and grind until I'm where I want to be. And that's the best thing that I ever did. You know, and I have a little girl. I have a daughter. She's acting. She's in commercials. She's in short films. She's auditioning nonstop. And she's watching me. You know, she's about to be 7. And she's looking at me like, okay, if my dad could do it, I could do it. And I think that's my message to anybody else is, if you listening to this, you watching me, if I could do it, you could do it. Especially if you from New York. You know what I'm saying? We that's some of the hardest raising right there, hardest upbringing. If I could do it, you could do it.
Right. There's a lot of, and I think, you know, you coming from a background like that, you're able to inspire other, you know, city like people that would dream of becoming actors and wrestlers and movie producers and joining the military, because they get stuck in that environment and they don't understand, if you manifest that positivity and get out and get out the city, that you can become something. So that standpoint is amazing.
Yeah, because
now
it's all about like the power of energy, man.
Yeah.
If you focus on negative stuff only, if you focus your attention to the bad, if you focus your attention to the struggles, the adversity, that's where you're going to stay at. You know what I'm saying? But if you're focusing on what you want and you're taking the necessary steps to get there, there's literally nothing that's going to stop you but yourself. And that's just how I always live my life. Like, there's no reason for me to sit back and be like, am I going to get booked tomorrow? No, fuck that. Like, damn right I'm going to get booked tomorrow. Like, because I'm going to make sure that I'm busting my ass to make sure that I'm the first person that pops in somebody's head when they need somebody to fill a spot.
Right. Speaking of that, do you own a pair of Timberlands?
I do. As a matter of fact, look, I just bought me a pair. They just came in the mail. You know what I'm saying? I just bought me a pair. They just came in the mail last week right here. Look, brand new ones right here, ready to go. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow, those are the clean original ones, man.
Trucks, you know what I'm saying? Ready to go. You feel me?
Yeah. Those are nice. All right. So you spent 10 years. You're a veteran, a Marine to be exact. And
right.
First and foremost, I want to thank you for your services, of course.
Thank you.
And we're gonna jump after that 10 years. Well, let's talk about that 10 years being in the Marines. Is that where you met your former girlfriend, and then you had a child a few years later? Tell us about the Marine. Exactly what that experience was like, being in the Marines for 10 years away from your family, not being able to talk to them that long, or you had to call them when you could. Tell us about that experience. How did you hold up through all that?
It wasn't bad. It was fun, man. Like I really enjoyed myself being able to travel and meet new people, and you know, friends became family, and you know, mentors became friends. Like it was a fun ride. The entire time it was an adventure. There was never really a dull moment. Traveling the world is amazing. Trying new foods, eating things you never thought you'd eat. The training was hard. Sometimes it sucked, but it was, looking back, it was fun, man. Training recruits, I was with recruits 13 weeks straight, 20 hours a day, not going home 4 days in a row. Um, Sometimes longer with them. It was all fun, man. Like it was all a good time. The people I met were some characters. It was, you know, it was always like if I was to write a book, like there'd be so many fun chapters in it just based on my time in the Marine Corps. And towards the end of my first enlistment, I met my daughter's mom. You know, she's still in the Marine Corps, but I met her. She was a newer Marine. You know, she was on her first year, and we hit it off. You know, and you know, we dated, we broke up, we hooked up. You know, dated, and you know, boom, out came Khaleesi. You know. And so we got married. We tried, you know, being a family and stuff like that. My daughter's mom she actually paid for my first month of wrestling training. So she put the money up front for me to train to be a professional wrestler. And that's something that I'll always be thankful to her for. And we have a really, really, you know, we got divorced and stuff like that because, you know, maybe we weren't meant to be together, you know, but we're great friends and we do a great job at co-parenting. She's still the homie, you know, so it's there's no other person, you know, no better person that I could have had a child with than her. And, you know, my daughter's a beautiful little girl. She's half Puerto Rican, half Mexican. Her mom's Mexican. And we really just, you know, worked together as a team to raise this beautiful little girl. And I'm super grateful to her for giving me that girl. And I'm super grateful to her for, you know, helping me raise this little girl. So.
No regrets, man. That's what life is about, you know, just, and you live in life, you know what I mean? Things happen, you know, relationships switch, change. You just got to keep going. Now, let's talk about your transition after those 10 years. Where did you start to wrestle? What clicked in your mind? Hey, I want to become a wrestler. Let me go here. Let me spend whatever what was it, $50, $100 to join the, you know, the program or whatever it was. When did you start wrestling? And at this time, were you living in California?
Yeah, I was still in California. I still live in California, but I was still in the Marine Corps. I was a sergeant. I was about to be a sergeant. And I started training in San Diego to be a professional wrestler. And I kind of was doing the Marine at day, wrestler at night kind of thing, or Marine at day, wrestler on the weekends and stuff like that. So it was definitely, you know, a good time where it was a lot of love. Appreciate it, K. Will. A lot of love, a lot of struggles, a lot of sacrifices, missing things like that. Sometimes I had to cancel a booking because I had work, you know, last minute duty called. But when I decided that I was going to get out of the Marine Corps, pursue this, you know, I shifted all my attention towards it. I was fortunate enough to have a mass sergeant who was, you know, hip to understanding what I was trying to do with my life, respected all that I already had done in the Marine Corps, respected the training that I gave my Marines, how I set the shop up for success so that I need to be there so that I could take those last couple months to get my shit situated so that when I got out, I could focus on only what I needed to focus on. And so it kind of worked out for me. It was a blessing. The Marine Corps set me up, and I'm happy for that. And I'm happy that I'm able to do what I love to do, you know?
Of course, of course. And what was your first match like? Tell us about your first match, who you fought, where'd you fight, what promotion were you under?
I don't give that promotion any shout outs anymore because that promotion kicked me out of the school. They told me that I was never going to wrestle again. They kind of tried to cutthroat me and blacklist me and stuff like that. So they don't get any credit for training me. They don't get no love from me at all. But my first match was the main event of a show. It was for the championship. And that just goes to show you right off the bat, like what kind of potential I had from the jump. You know, my first singles match, I'm wrestling the main event for a championship. And it was fun. You know, I wrestled Mike Camden. You know, he was great. I don't think he's that active in wrestling anymore. Maybe he is. I don't know. I don't really talk to him like that. But that was in San Diego, and that was in October 11th of 2014. So I started training in August of 2014, and then 2.5 months later, I made my debut.
Great, great. And one thing I notice about you is your animation, your liveliness
Yeah.
in the ring. Where, what kind of training did you have to do to put behind it? Was that all natural? Did are you using some of the military tactics into that?
Yeah.
Tell us about.
I think that it's a little bit of, it's that Puerto Rican sazon. I like to call it that Puerto Rican flavor, really just like being who I am. Like I said, genuine. New York City, we got big energy. New Yorkers, yeah, you know what I'm saying? That bachata's in us, New York, we got big energy. We got big mouths. We got that little gift of gab. Puerto Ricans, we got the, the bachata and the salsa. That shit flows through our blood. And so the military, when I was a drill instructor, I had to be very animated. As a drill instructor, I had to learn how to talk very fast, very loud, very command presence, demanding attention. So the Marine Corps obviously helped me. The military discipline helped me with that. And then being an actor, and aside from acting, I used to dress up as Spider-Man for like children's hospitals. I used to go visit children in the hospitals as Spider-Man. I used to go to school visits. So I was into the comic books and really being animated and doing all the flippy stuff. I have a background in parkour and martial arts. So I have all these my hand in all these pots, and I just bring all of them together, even being a father, man, like being a father to a little girl, like I got to be super animated. I got to be super hip. Got to, stay up to date with my daughter and what she's doing and being able to play with her and be able to connect with her at that level. So all of that, together into one ball, that's Danny Limelight. I just release all of it. I turn up the volume all the way and I just let that shit flow when I'm in the ring. So
Right.
I'm very thankful that I was able to do so many things in life that can bleed into what I want to do for a living. So that kind of helps.
Right. That parkour, I see it. Now your character it's you. It's Danny
Right.
Limelight Rivera. People question, they say, hey, is someone themselves on the microphone or promotions and are they scripted or whatever? But yours is your natural self. You're a Puerto Rican actor, and you kind of incorporate all that together.
I've never, ever had somebody come to me in any of the companies I've been and be like, here, this is your script. This is what you're going to say. Ever. I've always just been able to go out there, whether it's on the spot or pre-tape, go out there and just spit whatever I want to say. And it's always genuine. It's always authentic. It's always from here. And it comes out and it's easy to see in my eyes when I'm saying what I say because I mean that shit.
All right. So tell us about when you left that that corrupt promotion. What ended up happening to you?
I was fortunate enough that they, when I was trying to get bookings, people were like, no, we heard all these bad things about you, yeah. But I was fortunate that David Marquez, the owner of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Mr. Marquez, he's done so much in his business, over 30 years in his business. He called me. He wanted to hear my side. The first person that wanted to get to know my side of the story. And we talked, and he told me he had plans and he wanted to bring me to TV. And I was only 10 months in the business now. And he's like, you ready to make your debut on TV? We want to bring you to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And, I was like, I'm going to be ready, and not even a year into the business, about a year into the business, not even a year after making my debut, I was wrestling on TV with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And so David Marquez is the person, if anybody that looks at my posts or looks at the podcasts that I do, I always give him credit, especially to my career, because if he would not have given me the chance, I probably wouldn't be wrestling today. Everybody would have been like, nah, we're not going to use Danny Limelight. But he gave me that platform, that national television spot, and I rocked with it. And to this day, 5 years later, I'm still a mainstay on United Wrestling Network, whether it's Championship Wrestling from Hollywood or Primetime Live. David Marquez is also the guy that got me my first shot with Impact when I made my debut with Impact a year ago. A year and a half now almost, and I'm competing for the X Division Championship in my first match on Impact. He's the guy that introduced me to Rocky Romero. I met Rocky Romero at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, who's the guy that gave me the connect to bring me into New Japan. He brought me to the tryout for New Japan. So all that stuff comes from David Marquez's reach. And I'm super grateful to him, and I just want to thank him again. I know he gets tired of me saying thank you, but I'm going to keep saying it because if you're somebody that looked out for me and somebody that showed me love, I never forget that shit.
Sounds kind of like he was really saw something in you that that was superstardom.
And like he probably, where I'm at right now, he probably seen that shit. Like he probably looked at me and said, not right now, but in a few years, this guy is gonna come into his own and it's gonna be what I envisioned. And he was the guy that believed in me for that long. Because I'm sure now he sees me, he won't tell me. Like he won't be like, you know, hey, I knew you were gonna be this, you know, like he won't do that. But he'll just look at me and he'll give me that look and he'll smile, and I know like this is what you saw 5 years ago.
And how did that phone call? Did you meet him in person or did you talk over the phone?
Yeah,
he called you. So
it was like 40 to like, it was probably like 47 minutes, roughly to like an hour of a conversation on the phone. And I had never met him in person. We had each other on Facebook, but I had never met him in person. So now here I am getting this phone call and somebody's trying to ask me about, you know, what's the word, you know, and I'm like, bird is the word. Like, I don't even, you know, like, but he's trying to figure out my side. And to me, it was like, man, can I trust this guy? Fuck it. He's the only person that's cared so far to hear my side of the story. And I've never disrespected him. I've never, you know, I've always showed up on time to his shows. Every match, whether it's a 5-minute match or a 15-minute match or a 20-minute match, 100% of me, all of it. They need a promo from me. They get a promo, one shot, one kill, like one take Jake. They get every last bit of energy I got that man and his company gets from me because of what he did for me.
Right. And so he calls you and says, hey, you know, I want you to come join you know, my wrestling promotion. So you go there, and you know, did you have a long run there? How long did that last?
I'm still with them.
You're still with them. Okay. So you're currently
the bodega is there. I mean, when I first started, I was wrestling, we were Los Primos Rivera, the Rivera cousins, me and Gino Rivera, and we had about a 9-month run. We only took like 2 L's, I think, that entire time. And then things fell off between me and my partner. And so I went away for a little bit. At that point, I was taking a break from wrestling anyways because of the Marine Corps. So I took 2 years off from wrestling because I was a drone instructor. And when I came back in 2018, I hit him up. I said, I'm ready to go. He said, show me some consistent work. I showed him some consistent work, and he brought me right back in.
Wow. So jump to 2018. How did the TNA phone call? Was it TNA with who was the of TNA?
It was
Impact. It Jeff Jarrett? Was it Impact Wrestling? So it was Jeff Jarrett?
It was Marquez was the guy that brought me there. Yeah, David Marquez. Okay. They did like a collaboration kind of deal when Impact came out here. And they did like 3 pay-per-views out here or something like that. And it was for the Unbreakable pay-per-view in 2019, August of 2019. And David Marquez, you know, was asked for a few names, and I was one of them. And I ended up making my debut in an Impact match. So it was for the X Division Championship. It was me, Adrian Quest, Ace Austin, Jake Chris was the champion at the time, and Trey Miguel. We had a 5-way. And I'll tell you what, if anybody watches that match, I had a fucking hell of a showing in that match. And I'm super proud of that match. I thought that Impact was going to sign me after that, but they didn't. It's all good. Maybe it wasn't the right time, but you know, I'm still rocking and rolling. You feel me?
Did you reach out to Impact at all and see, you know, were you guys impressed with my work, or did you just kind of, you know, leave and let it marinate, or
simmer down? You know, I let it sizzle in the pot. The internet was talking about it. There was so many GIFs and like videos and tweets and shit like that. You know, fans doing what the fans do, and I let it just be. You know, I knew that if they wanted me, they knew how to find me. They knew how to contact me. You know, I never been, you know, the type to be like super like, hey, you know, you got anything for me kind of deal. You know, that's not my style. But when people want you, they know how to get you. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it was just, you know, not a good time. They had a lot of people, a lot of talent, a lot of people in the X Division. So maybe going forward in the future, maybe something will pop. If not, it's all good, man. There's so much stuff happening right now in the wrestling world, so much happening for me. I'm super grateful for, you know, wrestling at all these companies that I'm wrestling at. And I'm just going to keep rocking and rolling. My time is going to come sooner than people expect.
Right. You're that guy that people say you need to get him before he blows up. And you can tell, you know, the way you wrestle and now that you said you did parkour, I see that, but you can tell the energy you bring in every single match. You know, I'm sitting here watching your YouTube matches, your past matches, trying to get to know exactly, you know, the style of wrestler you are. And every match you go 100 miles an hour, and is that your style of wrestling, or are you looking to get signed? What drives you every match when you go out to the ring? What motivates you? What do you have in mind? Hey, I'm trying to impress the crowd, but maybe I'm trying to also get a contract involved, or what motivates you, going out to the ring?
I think for me, it's like this. Obviously the goal is to be a household name, to be signed to a major company, to be able to do this for the rest of my life and not have to worry about money, right? That should be everybody's goal in this business, It's a slow process. I do it because I love it. I love the adrenaline rush. I do it because, it's something that I wanted to do as a kid, and I love to prove people wrong. I do it because my daughter's watching and she loves wrestling. So I want to be able to set that bar, or at least make enough connections and network for her in case it never happens for me. Maybe when she grows up, I know the right people to help her get there. You know what I'm saying? And so when I'm in the ring, of course I want to impress. Of course I'm giving 100%. Like I don't half-ass anything in my life. Like I didn't half-ass anything growing up. I didn't half-ass anything in the military. I'm not going to half-ass this. I don't half-ass any audition when I'm acting. Like everything I do, I give 100% of me. That's who I am. And so I'm trying to go out there. I'm trying to have the best match on the card. I'm trying to have the best match on the program, on the show. I want people that when they see me wrestling, they're like, fuck, I got to follow Danny Limelight. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm in the ring, yeah, I go 100 miles an hour, but I can slow it down. I can switch it up. I got a hybrid style where I can do the technical wrestling. I can strike. I can fly with the best of them. And that's just something I like to be able to wrestle and be able to do anything with anybody in the ring, And I like to stay innovative and creative so that when people watch my matches, they're not seeing the same thing over and over and over. They're not going to see the same thing that the next guy does. I try to make all my moves different. I try to make it all resonate with me. And I try to make sure that on top of my wrestling, when the microphone's in my hand, I'm in front of the camera talking, that I could also talk somebody into a building. I could keep people interested in listening to what I'm saying because of my confidence behind the microphone. I want to have the complete package. And so you asked me what my goal is, man. My goal is to get signed. Whether that's New Japan, AEW, Impact, WWE, Ring Up, I don't care. I don't close any doors. I'm open for any opportunity if it's the right one. But I need to constantly go out there and stay consistent and continue to steal the show, continue to keep people talking about me, and to continue to keep people interested in who Danny Limelight is. And on top of all of that, I got to represent for mi gente, you know what I'm saying, and for my city.
Well said, well said. When I think of the name of your finishing move, the kapaku, I immediately close my eyes and I imagine dominoes on the table of a New York block. That was slamming bones down.
Yeah, that was my finish with Gino Rivera. That was my tag finish in 2015. My finisher right now is called the Symbiote DDT. It's a springboard to the other spring, tornado DDT. That's my finish. And then me and Papo Esco, the Bodega, we call it Plomo o Plata. And it's a version of my DDT with a big ass flat jack from him. So I have a couple things that I can do. I got some submissions in my game as well. But when you think of Kapiku,
yeah, how did I want to talk about that? How did the dominoes kind of shape your in-ring character? With being so prevalent in the culture, your finishing move name. How did that adopt?
Well, for those that don't know, domino
at the time period,
Kapiku is the finish. The finish of a game. If you got the double side of each way, that's 100 points on top of your score. And it's like a kapiku. You slam that shit down because you did that. You know what I'm saying? And in order to get a kapiku, you got to be super strategic. You got to fucking plan that shit out. That shit don't just happen. You got to work for that. So the kapiku was, it was an atomic drop with a flying knee into a jackknife pin. And that knee was the fucking bah, toma. You know what I'm saying? And so I thought to myself, kapiku, that's it. That's the game. They can't do nothing about it. That's the game. And so nobody ever kicked out of it either. That was the finish. Finito.
Amazing. Now, so we're in 2019. You do your Impact Wrestling. You have your Impact Wrestling match, and then what path do you take from there? Where do you go back and wrestle for your current promotion? Where do you go from there?
I go back to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I go back to the independents. I do some stuff with WWE, extra work, you know, um, and then I get a call from Rocky Romero about the New Japan tryout. So I go to the New Japan tryout in the fall, I kill it, then I separate my shoulder in December, and they tell me that I'm going to be out 4 to 6 months. There's no fucking way I'm sitting out 4 to 6 months. So they tell me I need surgery. They couldn't fucking pop my shoulder, and if you still look at it, you can see it right here. It's still,
Okay, I see it.
yeah, it's still not right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It didn't heal correctly.
No, because a week after I separated it, I got hit by a fucking car, and it kind of set it back in enough for me to be able to do this. So once I was able to do this, I was like, well, I don't need surgery now. I took the sling off because they gave me a sling, and I started lifting weights again. I was like, if I could get like some kind of weight, you know what I'm saying, on this where I can lift some kind of weight, I could wrestle again. 1 month, I kid you not, 1 month after I separated my shoulder, I was wrestling the match again. And so I start wrestling back on the independents. The new year rings in. It's 2020. I make a t-shirt that says I have a 2020 vision, what I got planned, what I want to do. And then boom, the pandemic hits. And everybody's like, fuck, like nothing's going to happen now. And I said, you know what? I'm going to use this time to get into the best shape of my life. I started grinding. I started eating better, started working out, lifting heavier. I went from 150 something pounds to 170 pounds. 11% body fat. I started writing and producing short films. I started grinding. My daughter's, making movies, and my daughter's making commercials, and we doing that. And then I get the call, from Rocky, hey, New Japan's kicking off, and you're making your debut at Lions Break Collision against T.J. Perkins. And then boom, there I am wrestling T.J. Perkins for the second time, but my first time on New Japan Pro Wrestling on the biggest stage with T.J. Perkins, one of the best to do it. You know what I'm saying? And now all of a sudden, so many people that didn't know who I was start learning the name Danny Limelight.
Right. Your name starts to ring. Now, all in all, the pandemic, has been terrible for a lot of people. But for you, it almost seems like you turned negative energy, into a positive for you. It almost seems like, this year has actually been more positive for you than it has been, negatively impacted by the pandemic. And, not everyone's the same, for each his own, but, like you said, you utilize your time, in a way to keep positive. Tell us about your New Japan now. I mean, you get your first match, and then you fight, you fight a few people. And what's going on currently with the New Japan? How, what exactly is going on?
So, I turned the worst year in the history into my year is what I did, man. I made it a breakout year for me. I started wrestling in New Japan. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood comes back on. So now I'm wrestling a New Japan Championship from Hollywood. I'm grinding. I'm doing my thing. The bodega's formed. And now, I create enough energy from New Japan fans and New Japan crowd, and now I'm entered to the Lions Break Crown tournament. And so I'm in the tournament with some of the hottest up-and-coming stars on the scene. I take out Barrett Brown in the first round. The second round, I take out Blake Christian, and now I'm facing Clark Connors in the finals. I didn't win the tournament, but I think that tournament showed a lot of people who I am and what I'm capable of. And I earned the respect of a lot of people, I believe. So after that, Primetime Live kicks off. And now I'm making my debut on pay-per-view, which is part of the United Wrestling Network. Primetime Live every Tuesday, exclusively on pay-per-view. And now I'm a mainstay on there. You see me on Primetime Live, Championship Wrestling Hollywood, New Japan Strong. I'm wrestling some of the best. I'm wrestling Rocky Romero. I'm wrestling Chase Owens, TJP, having some crazy matches in the Lions Break Crown tournament. And then, boom, AEW hits me up. I fly out to Florida, and then, now I'm wrestling Jurassic Express on AEW Dark. 6-man tag, me and Jersey Muscle. Fire match. I believe that in that short amount of time that we had, it was about 10 to 12 minutes that I think the match was. A lot of people got to see who I was in one match that had never seen me before, and the feedback was tremendous. And the next week, I'm back on AEW Dark. This time, I'm teaming with Casey Navarro against Jurassic Express. Same thing. And I think that all that I could do at that time was really just soak it all in. Like, the year's almost over. And even though it kind of, I feel bad for the people that, the pandemic shook in a negative way, and it was very harsh on them. But I just soaked it all in and was like, I really did this. I had a vision, what I wanted to achieve, and I surpassed that shit by far. Not that I didn't believe in myself, but I think that when the pandemic happened, I kind of was like, this is going to be one of those years, And it ended up being the complete opposite. And now the year is coming to an end. We got about a month and a half left. I have so much other things coming soon that everybody's going to have to tune in to see, because I'm not done yet. It's not like, oh, it's Christmas time. I guess I'll ease up on the breaks and enjoy the holidays. I'm finishing this year strong as fuck. And I'm trying to go into 2021 with that momentum to either sign with a major company before the year ends or right when the year begins. And I don't think there's anybody that's going to be able to stop me.
And with that being said, staying hype is definitely your persona. And that's what, I see in you. And I'm watching, I watch New Japan here and there. I'm a big Will Ospreay fan.
Right.
And and guys like that. And I see that, I see that almost inspiring you as well. Guys like that. And with that being said, I want to talk about the background of kind of your associates, the wrestlers. Is there anyone that you're close to backstage? It could be AEW, WWE, that's had an impact on possibly you going forward, and getting a phone call from AEW or New Japan. Is there a couple of people that you were close to that you practice with?
Yeah, I trained with a few people that are at a few places. I'm really good homies with Ray Phoenix and Penta. Brian Cage is the homie. Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, albeit from the match. Those are my boys. We train together. John Morrison is my boy. We train together. I try to surround myself with people that want to be successful. I try to surround myself with people that work hard, grind hard, and that are actually genuinely good people. And I'm very blessed that they allow me to be part of their crew too. Sammy's my boy, Sammy Guevara, Scorpio Sky. I know a lot of people, man, and I'm really good friends. Those are my homies. I respect them. I respect what they do. I'm happy for their success. At the end of the day, man, it's me. It's me grinding, me working hard, and just capitalizing on any opportunity that I get. Nobody gave me anything. Nobody, gave me anything I didn't deserve. I've worked for everything, and I continue to prove people that when I get a shot, I capitalize on it. That's what it comes down to. Because you can be best friends with the owner and get put into a position and then just fall flat on your face. And I think that for me, I've worked hard. I've never been a yes man. I've never been one of the boys that are like going out for drinks with anybody. I don't party with anybody outside of wrestling. I don't go crash nobody's house, nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? It's all me. And I show love, I spread love. That's the Brooklyn way. I don't hate on nobody. Somebody gets somewhere, I congratulate them, and I tell myself I got to work hard. And that's how I do everything.
Yeah, and you're from New York, so you're automatically a cool guy, right? And let's talk about that phone call. So AEW calls you up, tells you they're gonna fly you out to Florida. They book you a flight. You come out to Florida. How did that?
I bring myself out there.
Oh, okay, so you pay for your own expenses to get out.
I brought myself out there. I made the investment in myself.
Wow. Okay, so they just basically say, "Hey, we want you on AEW Dark." How does that phone call or email? How does that
go? Some people did some things to like get me to some contacts. And once contact was made, I let them know what I wanted. They told me what they had going on. It lined up with my schedule. I said I'll be there, and I was there. And I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to showcase myself, because there's a lot of people that, that are trying to get over there and they can't, so it was one of those things where, I had an opportunity and I said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And there was nothing that was going to stop me from being there. You know what I'm saying?
And so did you stay for an extra week? Because you're on the following episode, right? Or did they call you back, or were you already prepared to be on AEW Dark 2 times consecutively?
Yeah, I was prepared to be there consecutively, and so I made it happen. I made it happen. I stood there. We did the damn thing, and then I flew back after that. And, you know, I had some other bookies coming up. You know, I had some things with New Japan, had some things with Hollywood and Primetime Live. And so, you know, all I will say is that tomorrow I got a flight back to Florida. I'm not saying for what, but I'm going back to Florida tomorrow night. And I guess anybody listening can make up that what they want. But if somebody turns the TV on a channel that plays wrestling at some point during the week, there's a good probability I'm going to be on their screen. Whether that's with Primetime Live, that's with AEW, that's with New Japan or Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I'm on 4 companies. I'm on TV 4 times a week. And I'm not stopping, bro. Whatever I got to do to get there, whatever kind of grind I got to make, sleepless nights, constant flights, whatever, I'm going to do it. Because I'm trying to put on for mi gente. I'm trying to put on for my city. I'm trying to show my daughter that she can do anything she wants when she puts her heart and mind to it. And I'm not going to stop till I feel satisfied with where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? I always ask Papa, my tag partner, I'm like, yo, Papa, you hungry? And he'd be like, I'm starving. The fact is, I'm starving. You know what I'm saying? I want to eat. And I'm not taking no food from nobody's plate, but I'm grabbing as much as I can for me.
Right. You have that New York state of mind, man. That's how you have to be. You're pretty much all over the place right now. You're in all kinds of programs. You have your hand in basically, you know, a little bit of everything, which is amazing. Do you see yourself if you know Triple H or Vince McMahon, you know, they wanted to sign you? Do you see yourself signing with WWE, or would you be more on AEW? Which brand would you prefer right now? If you had to pick.
Look, I said to myself, man, I don't close any doors. I'm open to any and all opportunities. You know, I feel like wherever I go is going to be what's best for me, my daughter, and it's going to be somewhere where I can be a huge asset to the company and I can add value to that company. Whether that's AEW, whether that's New Japan Pro Wrestling, whether that's WWE, that's Impact, Ring of Honor. There's so many companies out there doing such amazing things. Wherever I end up is where I'm supposed to be. What's can be from, I'm going to get there one way or another, whatever that may be.
Some side questions. What was one of your favorite rivalries growing up as a kid? Mine was Sting and Hogan, WCW days. What did you enjoy? What do you remember? Some flashback.
Rock and Austin, Rock and Hogan, Eddie and Ray. You know, those are some of my top 3 favorites. Eddie and Ray from Halloween Havoc 97, Rock and Austin, WrestleMania 18, Rock and Hogan, WrestleMania 18. You know, those are some of my favorite feuds.
Awesome. And if you could, past or present, dead or alive, who's one person you'd like to step in the ring?
I always answer this question with the Rock at Madison Square Garden. Always wow. The Rock at Madison Square Garden. And if it can't happen, my next pick, not guest, would be Eddie Guerrero.
And you know what? As much as a long shot as that sounds, with your animation and your energy, anything can happen. You know what I mean? You know. So with that being said, we're definitely looking forward to seeing you on you know, further promotions, AEW, New Japan, all over the place, man. We really hope the best for you, man. And I have what can we expect from Danny Limelight in the future? Where can your fans see you? What's your social media? And do you have any upcoming events you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, I'm not hard to find, man. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok at Danny Limelight. ProWrestlingTees.com/Danny Limelight. Check out my merchandise. If you got podcasts you want to do, if you just want to chop it up, hit me up. I'm not hard to talk to. I got a lot of events coming up. I got Primetime Live tomorrow, exclusively on pay-per-view and the Fight TV. Danny Limelight versus Clark Connors. This is a rematch to the rematch. My 3rd time stepping into the ring with Clark Connors. He's the Lions Break Crown winner. So we're doing that tomorrow. This Saturday, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. You know, me and Papa West for the Bodega is open for business. We're in a 4-way elimination tag match. Winners are crowned #1 contenders for the United Wrestling Network Tag Team Championships. So I got that going on. I'm in Texas, November 28th, taking on Miranda Alizé at Hurricane Pro Wrestling for her Cruiserweight Championship. So I got that going on. I got some stuff coming down the pipeline with New Japan. Stay tuned. And you know, got some things happening soon in some places that are very elite.
Man, Danny Limelight, you are very inspiring to you know, to anyone, not even in the wrestling world. You know, someone just wanting to become, you know, get into real estate, or someone working at a Burger King 9 to 5. Your story is very awe-inspiring to anyone out there, man. And I just want to, you know, say thank you, and, you know, appreciate you coming on Behind the Ropes Media. And you can find us at Behind the Ropes Media and BehindTheRopesMedia.com. And thank you, Danny Limelight, for your time today, man. And we appreciate you. And from here, Behind the Ropes, God bless, Danny. And from here, Behind the Ropes Media, we'd like to say thank you, and you guys have a blessed night. All right, Danny.
Thank you, brother.